So today we're going to talk about 3 strategies that I will give you, 2 strategies that I use personally and one that we use from the Sol channel. So I think before you start backtesting, you have to have a strategy in mind that you want to pursue. So for example, you want to have a high success rate on your trades, but take a low profit. Or for example, you want to have a positive risk-reward ratio. So you want to have maybe 2-to-1, 3-to-1, but you will have a lower success rate, obviously. So this is something you have to think about in advance. What do you want and what do you want to achieve with backtesting? I have here the V-chain pair, and I have the same pair here for 2 strategies. So the first strategy would be we keep the take profits quite low so that the chance of hitting the take profits is quite high, and which means the success rate, which is the percent profitable here, is quite high as well. I have the indicator already set up here. So if I would go for the high success rate strategy like this one, I would start by taking small take profit percentages. Like I would put this at 1, for example, and this at 1.5, both 50%, and the stop loss at 3. This is a negative risk reward ratio. That means that if I hit stop loss, I need 2 trades to break even actually. What we're aiming for here is to not hit stop loss too often, which means that eventually the strategy will be profitable. Okay, so I will enable the settings again that I found. So how did I get to these settings? This is experimenting. For example, I would start to disable everything, and just with these percentages I would start with the power signal frequency. I will go in a range from 50 to, can even go to 350 or more, and I would go in steps of 10 or steps of 50 to see where the sweet spot is. If I have a good base from the power signal frequency, from there I would start and then actually try to enable more and more features here to see if I can improve it or not. So I also use the moving average, for example, the SMA in this case, at 180. And then combined with these 2 filters, we eventually get this backtesting result. So you see that the percentage, the net profit, is actually quite low. This is normal because our take profits are also taken quite low, right? So this is the whole idea of the strategy, which means a high percentage profitable, so a high success rate, but a low net profit. But this is of course without leverage. So if you choose a leverage here, let's say 50x, that means you will have more than 1000% profit. So eventually it will pay off. So once you have found the right settings in the power, the filters, and moving averages, you can try to perfect your take profits, because of course you've put these default ones, but it's possible that you can achieve even higher take profits with the same result. So let's increase this and see how it reacts. So this is still good. See that it goes down quite a bit, but the net profit stays the same, goes up, and then it goes down. So the one is actually already pretty good, but we could say like, okay, we leave it at the 30% net profit, and then we try to increase even more in smaller steps. This is not necessary because it will not bring much more profit, but we just do it to be as detailed as we can. So you see that it stays quite good. What I usually look at is the combination of these, the percent profitable and the profit factor. So if I increase from 2, let's say go back again at 2, it's 88.24. If I do it at 3, it stays. So that means that every trade that is taken, the value of 22 to 23 is valid, which means that every trade can be increased to 23. Then I go to 4, and then you see that it becomes 2% less, and the net profit goes down. That means we're actually on the limit, or a limit, let's say, in this range of take profit 1. So I will just leave it at 3. Then we do the same for take profit 2. So it stays on 88.24, which means every trade can be increased. Still stays. Still stays. That's good. Again, still at 88.24. Still, so very good. And then it goes down at 2.2 quite a lot. So it went down from 42% to 37. So this is actually above the limit. So if we go even higher, we could see how it reacts. Goes up again, goes down again, goes up again, goes up again, goes up, goes up, and then goes down again. Okay, so this is the second limit. So here we have to make a choice. Do you want to set the take profit to at 2.9, have a lower success rate but have more profit? Or do you want to leave it before at 2.1 and have a lower net profit but a much higher success rate? So this is something that you have to think about. You want to sacrifice this for that or the other way around, that's completely up to you. In this case, I would choose to have more accuracy instead of that little bit more profit. So let's try 1.1. And it's already going down. So we can leave it at 2.1. That's about the best we could do here. So you see that the initial value was 1.5, right? So actually we almost 1.5 is 30. Okay, so we got more than 10% out of it by just increasing the take profit with having the same accuracy. So this is good because 10%, right, in a leverage of 50, that is like 500%. So this is quite considerable. And then a third thing we can do is, of course, to decrease the stop loss, because if we can decrease the stop loss, keeping the same accuracy settings, we also have more profit, right, because we have less loss. So let's try this, 2.9. Still at 88.24, that's good. 2.8, still. 2.7, still. 2.6, still. 2.5, 2.5, it goes down quite a lot. So our sweet spot was around 2.6. Then we could still decrease it 2 decimals behind the comma. So 2.98. Okay, so 9 seems to be the limit, so 2.59. So we are at 44%, almost 50%. So in a 50x, that would be 2,500%, right? Then we have quite a good accuracy, almost 90%, and a very good profit factor. So this could be a good strategy for having a low net profit, but most trades have a very high chance of success. So this strategy is not so much aiming for huge profits, but it's aiming for successful trades. That means that we are trying to minimize stop loss getting hit, but this is some sacrifice that we make in order to have a very high percent profitable. Second strategy, we're going to take the same pair, so V-chain, but we're going to do the opposite from before, which means we're aiming for a higher profit, as you can see here, but we already know if we put our take profits higher, that the percentage profitable here, so the success rate, that it will be lower. But we accept this because eventually, if we hit the take profits, we have a good net profit. Okay, so how to do this? One possible approach is the same as before, but we could start by, for example, here we're going to aim for, let's say, 1.5. Here we take 3, and then the stop loss we take 2. So that means if take profit 2 is hit, we are already in a positive risk reward ratio because the stop loss is 2 and the take profit 2 is 3. So this is a good start. Then the same thing, like I said, I will disable this. You start with the power. You search for a good base in the range of mostly from it's 50 to 350, let's say 400 sometimes. But this all depends. You can go higher, you can go lower. It really depends on the coin pair. So So what is a good base? A good base is, this is not the best, but yeah, it's just an example, right? But at least a good base will have a positive net profit, right? Not any red number here, not negative. This is very important because from a good base we could start developing and putting more filters on it, which will eventually improve a lot. So if I enable the other filters again, you can see that by one my config will get better. So yeah, how to get to the results and how to set the values of these filters and functions, that is completely up to you. I'm just showing you how to approach a certain strategy right from the beginning. So if you want to know how to really get to the right config, I would suggest you to see the backtesting video that I made a few weeks ago. And in that video I will show you step by step how to get to a successful config, regardless of the strategy. So this strategy is focused on more net profit but less success rate, the opposite from the previous one. Okay, so let's say that we have found all these functions and then we are still stuck with the 1.5, 3 and 2 here. So again, like last strategy, we can improve this by going more detailed on it. So we are around 69% success rate now with a 75% net profit and a reasonable profit factor. So this is quite good. For every 3 times stop loss is hit, we only need 2 times take profit 2 to be hit, right? So this is positive risk reward ratio. So let's improve it a little bit more. So we try to keep this number similar, not go down too much in order to increase this number. Okay, so let's start. 1.6. It's going down a bit, but still acceptable because the net profit has gone up. It's gone down a bit again. It's going down, but the net profit is still going up, so I would say that we could keep going. As long as it's above 60, I would say that it's still decent. Net profit keeps going up. Still going up. Then it's going down again. Going up again. Going up. Going up. Going up. So the point here is to find the sweet spot, right? So you can keep going up as long as the net profit also keeps going up. But at some point you will see that the configuration kind of breaks, you know, like that the net profit will not go up anymore if you keep pushing the take profit, which means that the ideal limit of that pair is kind of reached, you know, so that's when you stop. So as you can see here now, I'll just leave it at 3 for now and then do the second one. Let's see what happens. It still goes up, goes down, up considerably. That's good. Down again, down again, down. So here you see that the sweet spot is obviously gone, you know. Like at 3.5, 3.4 we have 123% profit, and then we increase the take profit. It goes down, it goes down, it goes down, keeps going down more or less. So that means that actually there is very few take profits that are hit in all these trades. So the sweet spot was around 3.6, I think. No, 3.4 is the sweet spot. And then what about this one? So this we could push even more. Even more. Even more. So actually they are now both equal. That is no problem. That means that both take profits could be pushed until the maximum of 3.4, let's say. If you don't want that, you can also lower this, but eventually your take profit will go down as well. So yeah, why not why not keep them the same, you know, it will give us much more net profit. So now you can see that whenever take profit 1 is hit, we are already way above the stop loss. So this is very good because yeah, the higher the take profit and the lower the stop loss is very important in a strategy like this. So even though our success rate is only 62%, we are still very profitable because we have quite high take profits compared to the previous strategy, right? So now we try to reduce the stop loss. Let's see how that reacts. Okay, you see from 2 the number is 62.32. If I go to 1.9, it doesn't change, which means that in every trade it's possible to lower the stop loss. And then it goes down quite considerably. So try again to go down. Yeah, it's going down. So this was the sweet spot for the stop loss, 1.9. So now let's try to improve these numbers even more. So let's start with 5. Okay, the number stays, no change, that's good. Even more. 8. Okay, so with 8 it changes, so we will leave it at 7. We do the same for here. Okay, 3.47, 3.47, and then this one we go down, start with 8.5. Okay, it went down, so we go up, up. We had 6.23, so we want to keep that number, which was at 8.6. Okay, so this would be our final configuration. So let's compare them both, the one before and the one now. So here you can see that the profit is around 44%, but we have a very high success rate. We have only like, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stop losses in 68 trades, more or less. And then compared to the other strategy, we have much more profit, almost 4 times. But of course the percentage that we take profits is much lower, which we don't mind because we have a positive risk-reward ratio. So that's the whole point of this strategy, right? Let's take a look at a third strategy, which is the one from the Sol channel, Solana. So this strategy is actually aimed for big profits, right? So what do you want to achieve with big profit strategy? That is of course a considerable amount of net profit, but you also want to have a good amount of trades, right? Because if you only have 100 trades, the net profit will most likely not be as much. First of all, if you want a good amount of trades, you should not have too much filters on, right? So if you can see here, there's only one trend filter and it's set quite low, which means that there's still a good amount of trades allowed. The second one is turned off, and the power signal frequency is also not too high. It's below 100. So these are things that if you look at this, you would see that, okay, the amount of trades allowed in this configuration is quite high, which means that if we have a good average percentage per trade, we could make a really good net profit, which is the case here. We also see that it's set at break even, so whenever take profit 2 is hit, we move the stop loss to take profit 2 in order to avoid any stop losses. Okay guys, so the conclusion of this strategy video is, first of all, before you start, try to think about what you want to achieve. Do you want to have a really high net profit, but you sacrifice accuracy for that? Do you want to have a very high accuracy, but you sacrifice net profit for that? Or do you want something like a positive risk-reward ratio where you have not so much accuracy, but when you hit your take profits, you make a good amount of profit, let's say. This is one thing that you have to, I mean, there's hundreds of strategies, but I'm telling you about these 3. This is something that you have to decide before you start. Also, there's the take profits, right? How many take profits are you going to choose? Like, you're gonna go for 1, for 2, for 3, for 4. That also depends on your strategy. I barely go for 4 because the take profit 4 will usually be quite high, and it's I don't like to be in a trade that long in order to wait for the highest take profit. Sometimes it can be days. When the trade opens, I like to have a good chance of being the trade being successful and hitting my take profits, and then just get out. But it all depends on what you want to achieve, right? So hopefully with these 3 strategies, you are good to go and you can start earning some money, right? Okay guys, this was it again. Thanks a lot. See you in the next one. Bye.